He also created Salton City in the California desert on the shores of the Salton Sea. Yeah, well, amazing man, Robert McCulloch, really was quite amazing. All right, so those are our 3 formal speeches for today. But of course, speeches aren't all there is in Toastmasters. There is also my favourite part of Toastmasters, and that is the impromptu or extemporaneous speaking. Actually, Tiger's still doing an evaluation, so we'll leave that until, we'll leave table topics and let it, or are you right to go now, Tiger? It's up to you.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
In that case, ladies and gentlemen, the other thing that I like about Toastmasters, other than the evaluation, which I'll talk about in a moment, is table topics. Now, some Toastmasters hate table topics. They do everything they can to avoid being given a table topic. I actually think that they are the most real form of speaking that we will ever be called upon to do. It's rare that the boss will ask us to do a 7 to 10 minute presentation to the board, but it's quite frequent that she or he will ask us to address our colleagues and tell them how we're doing on the project, where we will meet the boss on the ground floor, and we've got until the elevator reaches the 7th floor to tell him how our project is going, which is roughly 2 minutes. And that's how long a table topic lasts. To present table topics for today, ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Cat himself, Tiger Don McCandy.
Thank you, Graham. And excellent speech. We will talk about that later. So, the theme of today is attitude. And as we all know, our attitude kind of directs our days, our weeks, our months. So, with that in mind, Gail, if you could unmute yourself and answer this question. Tell us a time when your attitude was so good that it was able to overcome a nearly impossible situation. Please unmute yourself.
Okay. And I think my attitude is always think positive and try to make the things, even though it's impossible. From this July, because I have accomplished the ACG, so it's still one more step to be TTM. So I got the chance to try to coach a bilingual Toastmaster club in our local. And I take these challenges, even it's very difficult because they have less members, only 8 members. And so now I'm now a qualified coach for bilingual Toastmaster from the headquarters. And my attitude is always try to make the things, even though it's impossible, and always look at the bright side. I think I will make every effort to do the weekly Toastmaster Club to help them to increase the not only the members, but I will help them to do the pathway program and help them, if possible, to be the selected distinguished Toastmaster Club before June 30, 2020, even though it's very difficult. But I always think positive, and I always my attitude is just do it, just make it, and everything will be possible. Thank you. Now back to our Toastmaster, tabletop master. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Gail. Way to get our topic started off with a wonderful, wonderful response. So Derek, you seem like an extremely successful young man. So tell us a situation where you went into a situation with a horrible attitude, and in the process of something happening it changed your attitude and turned the tide?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master and fellow Toastmasters. Attitude is very important because attitude can carry you when nothing else can carry you. Once in my life, and this is way back when I was a teenager, I was skiing in the backcountry of Canada and around Banff. And I was skiing along the ski out of a major resort called Sunshine. And it was an old resort old ski out that was on the side of a cliff that went down into a ravine. I wasn't on downhill skis. Now, this may mean nothing to any of you, but there are basically two types of skiing. There's a downhill skiing and a cross-country skiing. Downhill skiing, you're very locked into very solid boots and skis, and you can manage and maneuver through treacherous situations. I was on these things called skinny cross-country skis where my heels went up and down. It's coming down this treacherous path to get down to the end of the ski out. I was quite miserable at the start of it. I saw my life flip before my eyes thinking, I can't do this. Even as a young teenager, I thought, I can't do this. And we all know that teenagers don't usually put their safety first. They seem invincible, or they think they're invincible. But I buckled down, not my ski boots, but my attitude. I said, I can do this. I just have to breathe. And I sailed down that ski out. I was on the very edge of the precipice. Like those rattling cross-country skis could have gone either way. One way, and I would have gone way down. The other way, I made it down to the very end. That was my attitude that carried me. That was the belief that maybe I can do this if I just pay attention, if I just breathe, if I just focus. And that's what did it. So this is an example of starting off with a bad attitude, thinking I couldn't do it, thinking I might kill myself, thinking I don't want to do it at all, and then going towards a good attitude that why not just try it? Just say yes. And breathing and focus carried me down. I made it. And to this day, it was one of the most thrilling adventures I've had in my life. And I've had a few. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Way to bring a great story to Witty Storytellers. You know we love stories here, and that was a humdinger, as we say in Oregon. So, Julie, I want to know what kind of attitude it takes to stand up in front of people and try to make them laugh.
Not long ago, I published again in my blog something which called Mistaken Identity, which was the story that changed my life again. It was a story of how I got pushed out from America and had to begin my life again in France. And you know what? I tried to tell people that you need the same characters from one thing you do, professional life, to the other, to give confidence. And I used something which I just learned from a humoristic speech contest. I took out my shirt. Of course, under that shirt, it was another, but people begin to laugh and laugh and laugh. And from then on, whatever I told, they laughed. And the end of the meeting, I was so happy. I was not used that people laugh when I speak. They listened, they applauded, yes. But laughing? And then I asked myself how to make audience laugh when I want it. It was not so easy. I went to 3 workshops when I was 77, so 8 years ago, one after other, to learn more about comedy. And then only I was able to go, or I was perhaps able, but I didn't have courage before. I changed my attitude and I told, I'll go there and see if I can stay in the light. I go there and I see if I can, a small thing, not a big thing. At the beginning, I didn't want them to laugh 36 times in 6 minutes. I just wanted to see if I can go through my 5 minutes with a good attitude.
Thank you, Julie. And I think you were going for about 5 minutes on your table topic thing there too. Judging by the way the red heart was flying around the screen. So, timer, do we have time for more fun?
Well, I think so, but I would defer to our Toastmaster.
Yeah, I think we have time for one more if you'd like to, Tiger.
All right. Well,
we have Obiora, and I think he or she can speak now.
okay. Thank you, sir. Well, thank you for being here. So, Graham, let me ask you a question. You seem like a positive guy, but I know that in your past there was a time where your attitude was so bad that you completely messed something up that could have gone very well. I would like you to share that experience with us.
Mr. Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters and guests, I was an absolute ratbag at high school. I'm serious about this. I was the bane of my principal's existence. I was just a shocker. I know that, for example, I wore my entire school uniform, and school uniforms are compulsory in Australia. I wore my entire school uniform a grand total of 6 times in the last 3 years of school. I know it was 6 times in the last 3 years of school because we had uniform-free days twice a year, and those were the twice a year that I would wear my entire school uniform, but not on any other day. I was the secretary of the ABBA Bring Them to Brisbane Association. That's ABBA Bring Them to Brisbane Association. ABBA, yeah. It didn't work. They didn't come to Brisbane. We only got them as far as Sydney when they came to Australia. And I was specifically told by my principal not to take time off to go down and see ABBA perform. So what did I do? I took time off and went down to see ABBA perform. Now, I could have got expelled. And I could have, my entire life could have been different from that point on. If that had happened, then I wouldn't have got involved in setting up a high school radio station at my high school. If I hadn't got involved in setting up a high school radio station at my high school, I might not have met my wife, who worked at a high school radio station at a rival high school. My entire life could have simply spun on that dime. But you know something? While my attitude was, I don't care, then my attitude today is, I don't care. I had opportunities in my life that I have frittered away. I had things fall into my lap that have been such a joy that I cannot explain them. All I can say is that I take every moment as I can. I enjoy it as best I can. And other than that, I don't care. Mr. Topics Master.
What can I say? Wow, what a great finish to a great round of topics. Thank you, everybody, for engaging me. And with that positive note, I will turn it back to our Toastmaster.